Okay, so I am now on my phone. Not sure what's happened to my poor little computer. I did get the camera back, but I couldn't seem to actually post a live. So I'm only slightly flustered, and it is Friday, and I'm late. It's 2:15, but hey, I'm just going to do it anyway, and I will be sharing this live. I'll be saving it, and this is all part of my accountability, so here I am. What I wanted to share today was something that I've been having this discussion with my brother about. We've been having some messages going back and forth through WhatsApp, and what we've decided to do now is to do voice messages. And the beauty of this is you can sit there and listen to each other and type in notes. So I'm furiously typing in notes in my message on WhatsApp to prompt me, and then I do a voice message back to him. And gosh, we've had some really interesting discussions. But the one I wanted to share today, hi Charlie, the one I wanted to share today is something that's occurred to me recently, and it's so powerful, and it's this idea of telling the truth. We've had some interesting experiences over the last 4 years about being told what the truth is. So for some of us, it might be a little bit of a triggering statement, you know, that, what was it, the single source of truth, but we won't go there. But what I wanted to share was the topic, this idea of, you know, what is the truth in the moment. And years ago, I wrote an article about, does telling the truth have to be a painful experience? It seems to be, we have this spectrum of, you know, you're blunt and you just tell it how it is, or you sugarcoat it and create this sort of artificial fantasy about what the truth really is. And the topic that sparked this article for me was this idea of, in sport, I think it was at the time the New Zealand Rugby Association were going to cap the scores of children's games because some teams were losing by 100-0. And the idea behind this, hi Annette, was that, you know, to lose, 100-0 was just demoralising for these little kiddies. And they were going to artificially manipulate the scores or cap them. And you can imagine when this was presented on a radio station, which I will not divulge because people won't believe I was listening to it, this sparked a hot debate around manufacturing results, sugarcoating things for kids, and kids need to learn the hard facts and they need to learn the truth. And this got me thinking about, the truth, does it have to be this black and white idea of you say it how it is or you sugarcoat it? Anyway, I digress. So over the years, this idea of speaking the truth and saying things how they are has sort of morphed for me, because what it's highlighted for me is this idea that in any one situation that we're in, there are always two truths at play. And the example that I've been giving recently is this, especially with clients that I'm working with, is this idea that where you place your focus, where you place your energy, where you invest a lot of time and effort into is obviously going to create your reality, right? We know this. We know that two people can have very similar experiences, but both have very different outcomes from that experience because of where they put their time and energy. So, for example, I'm often working with people who are trying to lose weight, people who are trying to achieve goals, and often they're having real issues with stuff, which is why they've come for coaching, to push through this idea that you're not making progress. And the role of myself as a coach is to highlight progress, right? And this is where there's that dilemma, because there are two truths in play when anyone is giving me feedback on how their week has been. And the one that really hit home for me is, for example, the weight loss one. They'll get on the scales and they'll say, yeah, well, I got on the scales last week and there's been zero shift, and I'm feeling this and I'm feeling that. And it's like, why bother? It's just so much effort. Nothing's actually changing for me. And I say to those people, I say, hang on a minute, let's rewind. That's true. That's true. You've got on the scales, there's no change. But that's only part of the truth. That's only one truth. The other truth is you've been to the gym 3 times this week. You've followed your nutrition plan. You've been in bed by 10 o'clock. You've been drinking so many glasses of water, whatever they're doing. And that truth needs to be highlighted. That truth is super, super important. And these two truths are there. Which one, and I'll say this to clients, which one is going to serve you? Which one is going to power you through this? And I cannot stress how important this has been for so many people that I have worked with. And it was really super important for myself many years ago when I started reminding myself that there was more to this than meets the eye. Now, the reason that I like this idea of two truths being at play in any one situation is because it takes us away from that idea of denial, right? So we used to say, oh, think positive, look on the bright side, this sort of stuff, which kind of leads us down that path of, denial. And a lot of people will say that doesn't sit with them. And this idea of the two truths gives us the ability to go, yeah, we're not denying that there has been no shift on the scales. But equally, sitting there in that truth is not going to serve us in this moment. And we need to acknowledge that there is another truth, that you have been doing the behaviours that will be leading towards weight loss. So that was something that I was sharing with my brother this morning, and he liked it, so I was rapt about that. Always good to get validation from your siblings. But I think it really does highlight something very important for us, that when we are speaking the truth, we need to be aware of where our focus is, where our energy is, and asking that magic question, which is, how is this serving me? How is this focus on this particular truth actually serving me? And, if you've done any, people who are interested in the law of attraction and delving into that, we know this stuff, don't we? We know it. We know it intuitively. We know it in our hearts. But practically, we can often forget about it. And, the logical side of us kicks in, and we look at those scales and we diminish all that effort that we have put in to the behaviours over the week because they haven't given us the outcome we want. So there's so much going on there. But the interesting thing about this two truths is it can be applied anywhere, right? It's not just about, goal setting or weight loss. It's about conflict situations, dealing with conflicts, and, you're speaking your truth, your partner or family member is speaking their truth, and somewhere finding the ability to ask yourself that question. And I had a really interesting experience in a potential conflict situation with someone very close to me. And when I reflected on it later, at that particular moment, I was not thinking about the two truths. I was just thinking, I'm right. And what did hit me was, if I kept on this track, this trajectory, I was going to be responsible for destroying this relationship potentially. I took ownership of that. And when I reflected on it, I thought, no, there are two truths here. there's my truth and there's her truth, and which one is going to serve me in this moment. And maybe it's that I take on board that for her, she has a different view of this. And if I don't acknowledge that or accept it, I, and only me, is going to be responsible for where this is heading, because that's the only thing that I know for sure. The only thing that I can control is what I do, and she's just going to do her thing. And that was a real powerful reminder of how much control we do have over conflict situations, over negotiations, over realizing that what we do leads us down one of two paths. So I hope that's giving you some food for thought. Those of you who are on my emailing list, I will be sharing a review, kind of rewritten, updated version of the article in my newsletter. So if you'd like to get a copy of it, drop me a direct message with your email and I will add you to my list so you can get a copy of that. And just have a think about it. Ask yourself, where has this been applicable for you? Where have two truths been misunderstood? Where have you focused on one truth at the expense of another and it hasn't served you? Equally, where have you done it where it has served you? And maybe it's a more realistic way of viewing life, that at any one moment there are, and I firmly believe there are probably multiple truths at play. And our role is to find the one that is going to serve us in the moment and enrich our lives and other people's lives, and just making sure that we are not cutting ourselves off from that wonderful thing that I love to share, which is that growth and expansion. And that for me has been a message that I'm sharing with my clients, the opportunity to grow and expand from that appreciation. So have a fantastic weekend, guys. If you'd like to receive a copy of the article revamped for 2025, drop me a direct message with your email and I will send it to you. And I am aiming to be accountable and stay on track and do these lives weekly. And hopefully I can sort out my issue with my laptop. Catch up with you soon. Cheers, guys.